Good afternoon. I almost said good morning. Whew, I'm so confused. I swear the short week like throws me off. And so I'm like, what day is this? What's happening? Where am I supposed to be? And then we had a little bit of a glitch with our time for tonight. So that kind of was like throwing things off. And then for some reason, and I don't know if this is new, and it sounds like it might just be for me, but I can do like reactions in the chat, like the little hearts and the little comment where it looks like it's commenting specifically to the person. But I don't know if that's new or if that's just a weird setting that maybe got set. Um, I don't know. So who knows? Technology has been like really wonky today at work. Um, in my district, school's out. Today was the last day of school for our district. And so we were looking at some data dashboards, and like some of us had access to the data, some of us didn't. We couldn't figure out why. There was like weird filters we had to turn on and turn off. I'm like, is Mercury retrograde or something? Which it is not. So I don't know what's going on, but I feel like there's lots of stuff that's kind of wonky. Oh, so Jennifer, you can't do maybe you have to do a Zoom update. I don't. And then like I never would have thought all my phone, my computer, everything needs to be software update, software update, software update. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is just, it's so much. But it goes very nicely with my little graphic that I must have fortuitously realized that I needed just as much as you, what's out of my control and what's in my control, right? So there are some things that are in my control, and that's what I need to focus on. And those things that are out of my control, like change and technology, should be on there sometimes, and what happened in the past and things other people say. I just have to let that go. Take a deep breath. Maybe we all need to like take a deep breath, like shake things out, right? Stand up and give a little shake, a little arms up and down, kind of get going as we get ready to go into the weekend. But I am so happy to be here with you all tonight. I see the chat is popping, definitely. So just know that if this is your first time, is this anybody's first time at a social? Your first time here popping on? If it is, you can just put a little like me. I'm new. Oh, Janet is new. Welcome. And we are glad that you are here. Just know that we have these socials that are specific to filling out prompts that are in the journal. And then we also have a lot of setups that are, or a lot of socials that are setups, right? So tomorrow night, we're going to have we're going to set up our month for the month of June. I don't know how that is happening already. And then we're going to have some weekly setups on the weekend. And you will be either happy or dismayed to know that I am with you all weekend long. I may not be the facilitator for all of them, but I'll be here tomorrow night with Jen O will be facilitating. I'll be here Saturday morning and Saturday evening. I'll be here Sunday morning and Sunday evening, and I'll be here Monday morning and Monday evening. So it's going to be the Maya show. Jennifer thought maybe we should come up with a little song for me, but anyway, I won't always be facilitating. But anyway, so you never know. I mean, right? Like sometimes some people's jams and other people's not. So I'm just giving you a heads up. I know, right? Lots of me this weekend. So, and I can't really complain because I'm the one who does the schedule. So clearly there was a lot of folks were otherwise busy. But yeah, so weekend at my house. So sounds great. So for my new people and for everybody, really make sure that that little blue box says everyone. It's very obnoxious if you're on an iPad or an iPhone. It will keep flopping back to host and panelists. And when it does that, the only people that will see what you write are myself and Jennifer O, who is my fabulous co-facilitator hanging out in the chat. She will be, kind of checking in on you if you have any questions. I try to watch what's happening in the chat. Oh, there she is. She's going to pop in. Hello. She's coming to us from Texas. And I try to keep an eye on the chat, but sometimes I am very easily distracted. So I have to sometimes ignore the chat so that I can remember what I was going to say. So so if you haven't met me yet, I am here in Aurora, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver. We had a lovely day today. It was very nice outside. We have been having some rain, which is great. We really needed it. I would have rather have had the snow in the winter, but I'll take the rain. We've had some snow still up in the mountains. So hopefully folks' weather is not going is going how you want. I know some people it's very, very hot. For some people it's cold and rainy, right? Always just kind of switching up. So hopefully things are good where you are. So Also want to just point out a few of the community guidelines here. We want to make sure this is a safe and supportive space for everyone. So we just ask that you're kind and courteous both to yourself and to others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Limiting repetitive product and accessory questions. It's fine to ask things like, where do you get your pins that don't bleed through, and those kinds of things. But honestly, the best place to ask those product questions is in Sonder Club, because then people can pop in web links and pictures and all those kinds of things. Any of those customer care inquiries all go to our headquarters team, hello@silkandsonder.com. So if you need to update your mailing address, if you need to let them know maybe your credit card expiration date has changed, right? I always forget to do that for my things that are recurring, and then something bounces back and it's like, oh, it didn't go through. And it's like, oh, shoot, I forgot to tell them to update the expiration date. All of those go to that hello@silkandsonder.com. Jennifer and I do not have access to your account. We can't fix anything even if we wanted to. So all of those go there. Same thing, if you ever get a journal that gets mangled in the mail, right? I've had sometimes where it's like, I don't know if they folded it or something, but the binding is all funky. Always send an email to hello@silkandsonder.com and they can get another one out to you. We also have people who email hello@silkandsonder.com to let them know, like, they've spilt coffee across it and it's all wet, or their dog has chewed it up. And we will do our best to get a new journal out to you, because we want to make sure that you have your journal for the month and things are going well. And then ultimately remember that these socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if there's ever anything that we're working on that just is not your jam, right, you're just not feeling it, feel free to do something else. This is your time. This is your hour. Do what you need to do. Don't feel like there's not a right way or a wrong way. Oh, Greta says her mailman likes to fold it in half and stuff it into the mail slot. Yeah, it's like, please don't, right? Like you're smushing my journal. Um, oh, nice. And Jennifer Wood is saying her dog chewed up her June journal, so a new one was sent quickly. Oh, that is good to know. Yeah, because we want to make sure you have a good journal, and we want to make sure you're having a good time here at the social. So do what you need to do for this hour. You've carved out this time. If the music I play isn't your jam, you can mute that. If my voice isn't your jam, you can mute me. We have closed captioning enabled. Do what you need to do, right? And sometimes folks need to hop off early. No worries, right? We do record these. You can always watch again later. Just know that the chat is not included in the YouTube recordings. So that's why we always try to tell people to try to be here in person, because a lot of times the chat is where the magic happens. It's where everyone gets to kind of chat and see how things are going and share. And we love love that community, right? Love that support. So this month we are wrapping up the theme of integrity. Not that we are not going to have integrity after this month is over, but this has been a deep one. I know a lot of folks have said this one's really hard. This one has been kind of an intense theme. It's been pretty deep. It's been kind of rough to get through. And so kudos to you for kind of going through. I always find that the themes that seem like they're the hardest for me to deal with are the ones I probably need to address the most. Yeah, and Jennifer O is saying this theme called me out. Yeah, the mind map from last weekend that talked about how your actions actually aligned with the person you say you want to become. It was one of those where you're like, ooh, ouch, that, like, did you have to call me out that early in the morning? But it's good, right? It's a good way of calling out. And it's good to kind of dig into that, because that's where the growth happens, right? In that zone there, we're not, we kind of get out of our comfort zone, and that's where the growth happens. So I did find, I can't believe it took till the end of the month, but I found this cute little integrity, right? With do the right thing, be compassionate, be honest. Isn't that cute? A little cup of tea, integrity. And then I liked this quote about wisdom is knowing the right path to take, and integrity is taking it. And I think that is such a great quote, because how often do we know what we're supposed to do? We know what we need to do, but then we need to do it, right? And so that integrity, thinking about how integrity is taking that right path. And then, of course, a Brene Brown quote, integrity is choosing courage over comfort, choosing what is right over what's fun, fast, or easy, and choosing to practice our values rather than simply professing them. So it's that whole walk your talk, right? Kind of actions speak louder than words. That kind of thing has really been an interesting theme to kind of dig into this month. And so hopefully you won't completely ignore it when we jump into June's theme, but just really kind of thinking about how that can kind of carry over into the next month. So tonight we're going to do a fun little opening activity inspired by I was repotting some plants this weekend. So I was kind of inspired to have a planty kind of opening activity. Then we're going to work on that page 16, which is the inner yes and the outer no. And then we're going to do a little fun with integrity poem blackout. So the poem that's on page 17, we're going to do a fun little blackout activity where you kind of get to make your own poem based on the words that are there. So we'll give you lots of instructions, lots of how to do that and what that's going to look like, right? So find a blank space in your journal. Hopefully there's still a blank space somewhere in this May journal. If not, scratch paper, a sticky note, excuse me. You can kind of use the back page, just anywhere maybe that there's some areas for you there. Oh, Kimberly's saying next month's theme is concerning her. Well, we are going to get way into that, Kimberly, so I think you'll be okay. It's definitely a fun one, but you can still hold on to these last few days in the May journal, absolutely. So we're going to do your botanical blueprint, right? So right now, thinking about this season of your life, what kind of plant are you? Right? No, we're not. Monica says I'm a dead plant. No, we're not going to be a dead plant. Maybe we're a plant that needs a little help, right? Maybe we are a lush, boisterous tropical fern that needs constant misting and attention. Maybe we're a stolid, spiky cactus that thrives in the isolation of an arid environment. Maybe we're a hardy perennial enduring a winter freeze, or maybe we're a tender blooming wildflower. So think about what kind of plant that you are. Describe your leaves, your color, how you feel in your current soil. I love somebody saying like dormant grass, the air fern, right? So think about like what is kind of happening in your current soil. I had some really nice succulents. I'm not 100% sure what kind they are, but they had like gone all crazy and like they were all like falling out of their container, and they were very pretty and very big, but they needed some help because the roots were all sticking out and they were kind of all crazy. So maybe that's your like a very lovely succulent, but you've got a lot of kind of things going out there. Yeah, we need to know. Janet wants to know what plant is a slow bloomer. That's a good one. Maybe somebody can help us. What's something that blooms maybe a little bit later in the season? So you can draw your plant, you can describe your plant. You can find a picture of the kind of plant that you are on the internet. And then I want you to think about the care instructions for that plant. What does that plant need? So maybe are you, if you're a cactus, are you forcing yourself to live in a swamp, right? Cactus do not like living in a swamp. If you're a tropical fern, are you depriving yourself of water and wondering why you're wilting? Right? That's not good. Yeah. If you've got a friend who's a plant professor, you can ask them questions too. So in what ways are you stretching or changing your true nature to please others rather than standing in your own botanical integrity? Right. And I think I have a lot of plants in the house, and I'm constantly kind of trying to figure out, does this one need more sun? Do I need to put them in a different part of the house? Does this one want more shade? Does this one want water? Does this one need less water? And then I get those obnoxious little fungus ants, the little gnats kind of flying, not ants, the little gnats that are flying around. Right. So do you have like a lot of gnats going on there? Right. So, and then in 2 words, you can tell us, and you've kind of already been telling us in the chat, what kind of plant you are, and what is one thing you need to give yourself this week to honor your environment. So maybe you're a thirsty fern and you need more water, or maybe you're a spiky cactus and you need some better boundaries. So think about plants, think about, kind of what kind of plant you are, what you need. If you're maybe your soil is lacking, I have a really nice, it's the Thanksgiving cactus, not a Christmas cactus. But the soil has kind of gone a little fallow because it's been in that pot for a long time. So I was like, oh, I need to give it some new soil. I need to give it some new things to kind of help it. And I think it also likes coffee grounds. So kind of thinking about that. So think about that. I will let you keep sharing in the chat. I will play some music and be quiet and let you think about what kind of plant you are and what's kind of going on in your environment, what you might need to change up, and then we'll check back in and keep moving on. I was having so much fun reading everybody's things in the chat. I was like, oh, the song's coming to an end. We have to keep going. But I love everyone really kind of thinking of all these different kinds of plants. I appreciate folks who were like, I cannot keep a plant alive. Like I love plants, but I can't keep them alive. And then some folks were suggesting Lego has this whole series of like Lego succulents. And I think they even have like really pretty like the cherry blossom trees that you can do, and then you can like switch out the cherry blossom to like the little white blossoms and those kinds of things. So if you decide that maybe you want to get a plant but you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to get a live plant, maybe one of the fun Lego plants would be fun to kind of see what that looks like. And I also really appreciate everybody kind of thinking of what are my care instructions, like what's going on. Some of you talked about like excuse me, like I'm in a pot, but my roots have really outgrown the pot, and I need to be repotted. I need some new soil. Maybe I need some coffee. There are a lot of plants like the coffee grounds. So yeah, so it's kind of fun. So maybe go and find your plant, find pictures of the plant that you kind of think of as you, that you kind of identify with, and that might be fun to kind of bring into next month, thinking about your plant, thinking about you as a plant and kind of what you want. Yeah, if you overwater plants, sometimes they get moldy, and they don't like that, and sometimes they get root rot if you water them too much. So they are a little tricky sometimes, right? But the nice thing is if you go into a nursery, a lot of times you can ask like, I need a really basic plant, and folks can really be helpful with that. The one that's on the left-hand side, the snake plant, those are very hardy. They kind of last. Like I said, I have 3 of those. So those are always good starter plants if everybody wants a plant. And, plants are really good to have indoors because they oxygenate things. I have a lot of them at work too. I have some spider plants because those are the ones that are really good. I can't remember the name of the one that's in the top right-hand corner. I'll have to look and see. But those are fussy. I will say I have one of those and I almost killed it. I took it to work and it is coming back, but it was very, very fussy. It was not an easy, it didn't like too much light. It wanted more light. It wanted less light. It wanted more water. Yeah. And if you have cats or dogs, you do have to be careful of any plants that are poisonous for any of the, of that. So somebody is saying, is it Caladium? Is that plant up in the top? They're very, very pretty, but they are fussy. So just know that. And succulents are usually pretty good, but sometimes I overwater those. The spider plants are really good. Usually they just like a lot of sun. So anyway, so that's our Caladium. All right. So on the fake succulents, yeah, don't let the cat. Yeah, the cats can be bad with some of the plants. So, all right, so enough plant talk. But I'm glad you guys were having fun with kind of thinking of the plants and kind of what those look like, and they are really fun to have indoors. So let's dive into page 16. Right, and this is going to have us thinking about this inner yes and outer no. So I'm going to break this into the 3 sections. So we'll talk about each section and then I'll give you a little bit of time to work on it. And then we'll go to the next section. We might not have time to think of all 3 situations and all 3 aligned responses, but this is going to kind of give you some ideas for how to fill in this page and kind of what this is looking like. So the first question asks you to list 2 to 3 situations where, it's supposed to be where your inner no was overridden by an external yes. So that means you really wanted to say no, but you ended up saying yes. What were you afraid of or trying to protect? So keep in mind, this does not have to be a major life event, right? Maybe it's a small thing. For me, I was thinking, I feel like I've actually gotten better about this in the last year or so, but one of the things, a situation that I thought of is agreeing to teach extra classes at the university. They would often ask me, hey, can you pick up another section of this? Can you do another section of that? And I was afraid to say no. I was afraid if I said no, they wouldn't maybe offer me more in the future. I was afraid maybe they wouldn't think that I was being kind of a team player when they needed more. And I was also afraid of like less money, right? So it was kind of this like, ooh, maybe I should say yes because I could really use the money. But inside, I really wanted to say no, right? It talks about like, did you agree to go to a dinner party when your body was screaming for rest? This is on page 16. Did you take on an extra task at work when your plate was already overflowing? So start small, kind of think of some situations, maybe think back to a time where you felt that wave of resentment or exhaustion or a heavy sensation in your chest right after you said yes to someone, and then trace that feeling backward. What was that request? What was that overridden no? Um, Oops, that's all for that one. So we're going to work on that. And I see folks kind of talking in the chat, telling my daughter no because I was tired or not feeling well. What else? Last week I said no to an extra shift. So where was a time when you said you had the inner no, but you actually said yes? That's what you're kind of thinking of with these first three situations. So I'll play a little bit of music, let you work on that. Feel free to keep sharing in the chat, and then we'll move on to the next part about what would have felt more honest or aligned in that situation. So some folks were saying that this was kind of hard to kind of think of um, this inner no that was overwritten by the external yes, right? And then a lot of you were talking about, it seemed very, a common theme was we didn't want to upset someone. We didn't want to disappoint someone. We didn't want to make someone unhappy. Oh, Adrian's saying, I accepted Pepsi when I didn't really want that, right? How many times do we, like you're at a restaurant and you want something, but they don't have that, but they suggest something else. So you're like, okay, but like inside you're going like, no, I don't actually want that. But then we don't want to appear difficult. We don't want to appear contrary sometimes. So we'll say, sure. And really the overcommitting, right? The like, oh, well, I could probably do this. I could do that. A lot of times I will squeeze everything into my schedule. And then I realize like that is like way too much. So keep thinking of that. If you weren't able to think of anything, don't worry about it, right? You can always think later. Something might pop into your head later, or maybe this is something that will key in later on this week when you go to do something and you think like, ooh, this was really an inner no, but I hear myself saying yes and I don't really want to say yes. Then you can use some of these tools where what would have felt more honest or aligned in each situation. So think of one of those situations that you talked about, and then maybe close your eyes for a second and kind of replay what that looked like in your mind. Replay that scenario. So picture yourself saying your boundary out loud. Picture yourself saying, no, thank you. No, I don't really want that. No, I don't want a Pepsi. I want a Coke. No, I don't want to eat that extra croissant. No, I don't want to take on an extra class. No, I don't really want to do this extra thing at work. What does that feel like? What response, if you would have said that, what what kind of response makes your shoulders drop, right? What response makes you feel a sense of lightness or a release of a pressure in your chest? Alignment usually feels like an exhale. So when you really, your inner no becomes the outer no, a lot of times you really relax. I know that has happened sometimes when I've said I would do something and then later I have to say like, no, I'm not actually able to do that. And it feels like, oh, like that feels so much better, right? And being honest didn't mean you have to scream, no, leave me alone, right? We're not talking about like harsh boundaries, right? Alignment can look like a partial yes. Maybe it's a deferred yes, a conditional yes. Maybe an aligned response meant asking for more time to think about it, or doesn't mean saying, I can't do X, but I could do Y. Looking for middle ground so that your integrity can stay intact, right? And I love this quote that says, your boundary need not be an angry electric fence that shocks those who touch it. It can be a consistency of light around you that announces, I will be treated sacredly. And I think that's one of the things sometimes we're afraid of setting boundaries because we don't want to make someone upset. We don't want to sound like harsh and no, I'm not going to do that. And we don't want to like, sometimes I don't know if you're like me, I get all worked up in my brain. And then by the time I actually say no, it comes out really nasty. Right? So it's like, it doesn't have to be that way, right? It doesn't have to be this angry electric fence, right? It can just be, I need for myself, I am not able to do that right now, right? Like I am working on, kind of some balance here, and really kind of feeling what that looks like. So here's some examples of things that you could have said in different situations, right? You could say, I would love to help with this, but I don't have the bandwidth to give it the attention it deserves right now. I'm feeling really depleted tonight, so I'm going to stay in and recharge, but I'd love to see you next week. I need to check my calendar. Let me get back to you tomorrow. Or this is one that I try a lot of times is I say, let me think about that and get back to you, right? That power in the pause, really giving myself, let me think about that for a minute. Because a lot of times I'm quick to say, oh yeah, that sounds like fun. Oh yeah, that sounds great. And it's like, let me think about that and get back to you. So those are some examples of some aligned responses that you could give. So again, I'm going to play just a really quick little song and let you work on maybe some of those little examples, and then we'll move on to that final piece. Oh my gosh, Lynn, I love she wrote, it would have felt more honest to continue to work on the plant art instead of pushing through to the journaling prompt. After all, who would have known? Right. And that's totally true, right? When we come to these socials, we have all these fun activities for you to do. And sometimes you're like, I really want to stay and do this activity. So don't ever feel like you have to move on to the next thing that we're doing, right? Because it probably would feel better to maybe keep doing what you wanted to do. And then you can always go and watch the recording later to kind of if you want to pick up on this piece and do this work. So thanks for all the different ideas, the different things that you're working on. Yeah, and sometimes people love to like hang out in the chat and chat about it and then work on the page later. You could totally do that. So now we're going to choose one area of our lives where we're ready to practice saying no with love or yes with confidence. So what's a small, brave step you can take? So I gave you some different examples like in your life to kind of think about. So with professional and work, maybe it's projects that you're committing to, your hours at work. Maybe it's over delivering. Maybe it's social relationships like friend dynamics, family expectations, dating. I saw somebody said their friend always wants to go to this one coffee shop. They don't really like the coffee there, but they keep going because their friend wants to go there. Maybe that's something that you want to kind of work on, suggesting someplace else. And you never know, maybe you'll suggest something and she'll be like, oh yeah, that would be fun, like we'll go someplace new. Health and wellness, so maybe we want to work on sleep or movement, nutrition, screen time. Maybe it's a personal growth or a creativity, like a hobby or some learning or some solo time. So here's some examples that I wrote down for you to kind of think about. So with work, you want to say no with love. So in your professional life, maybe the next time my boss asks me to take a last minute project on Friday afternoon, my small brave step is saying, I'd love to help with this, but to ensure it's done right, I'll dive into it first thing Monday morning. I know some of you were talking about it. It really helps when you can kind of script out what you want to say. So this is your opportunity here to do that. So maybe a friendship no with love is when my friend texts asking to hang out on a night I'm exhausted, instead of ghosting or making up a lie, my brave step is texting back, I love you and I want to hear all about your week, but my battery is completely drained tonight. Can we do coffee on Sunday morning instead? So something like that. And then we've got some yes with confidence, right? So with hobbies, maybe I'm going to stop saying I want to try pottery someday. My brave step is clicking register on the beginning class tonight, paying the fee, and putting it on my calendar with zero apologies. Or maybe some self-care yes with confidence is I am going to say yes to an 8-hour sleep schedule. My brave step is putting a do not disturb automation on my phone at 9:30 p.m. starting tonight, right? And remember, no is a complete sentence. And today you are living the results of decisions you made 3 months ago. In the 3 months' time, you will live the results of the decisions you make today. So choose wisely. I just came across this today and I thought, wow, that's really powerful, right? Today I'm living the results of decisions I made 3 months ago. And then also, this is a good one. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others, right? So I am going to cycle through these. I will let you work on your script here for an area of your life and that first step, kind of what this looks like. Cycle through these slides. We'll play just a little bit of music and then we'll have some fun with a poem. All right. I know that was kind of a quick little bit of time, and I saw lots of folks kind of talking about some of the different things they want to do. And sometimes this is hard, right? It doesn't come to us right away what we want to do. I know sometimes we will argue for our limitations, and when you argue for your limitation, you get to keep them. So think about that, right? If I'm saying, no, I can't do this because, or no, I can't tell my friend this because, it's like, are you telling yourself a story, or is that accurate, right? And really kind of thinking about what you want. Again, this is like about integrity, right? This is integrity for yourself. So really kind of thinking about no as a complete sentence. I like somebody said that they tried to tell their boss, like, oh, we don't really have enough time. I'll start that on Monday. And they're like, well, we still have an hour. And it's like, okay, nothing's going to get done in the last hour of a Friday. But anyway, so it's always, at least you tried, right? At least you tried to say something. So hopefully you've got some ideas. Again, this is really good. To think about. This is a good one to kind of keep thinking on. Really, scripting out is really good. Even if you don't end up saying the exact same thing on the script, right? Just kind of scripting it out. Or maybe if you have a good friend that you can kind of role play, and you can have them be the person that you're trying to tell something to or trying to say no to, and have them kind of come up with the things so that you can respond. You can come up with kind of what you want to think about. Yeah, and if you are working with a therapist, really kind of telling them, like, hey, I need some help. This is a great thing to work through with a therapist, right? I need some help being able to tell someone this, right? And they can kind of help again with that kind of role play. So great work kind of going through thinking about this. And it's not easy, right? It's not. These are kind of some tough things. Clearly we've gotten ourselves into this situation where we've said yes, but we really mean no. And it takes some work. And like I said, I think I've been getting better at saying no, or saying I'll think about it, or giving myself that power of the pause to really kind of think about my response to things. So for our last little bit of time together, and if you want to keep working on this activity, you can. If you are still having fun with your plants, you can still do that. On page 17, we have a poem, right? The Integrity Poem by Gary Dodd. And sometimes folks really enjoy, this is kind of a fun, it's like this idea of doing a blackout poem. So it's all about selecting and revealing that hidden poem by keeping a few words and blacking out the rest. So you're going to read the poem all the way through, right? And maybe you've already read it through, and then think about the meaning, think about the tone, maybe choose some words that stand out to you, maybe lightly circle or underline those words. Maybe they're powerful, emotional, or interesting words. You want to kind of make sure your poem has some sort of a sense or a theme, expresses a feeling or an idea. So you have kind of those words that you want to pick out of that. And then read your poem out loud to yourself, right? None of us can hear you. And then you can adjust by adding or removing words until it flows how you want. And then you can use a marker, or you could use washi tape. You could use stickers, any of those kinds of things. And then you can black out the words that you're not going to use, and then leave the chosen words visible. You can color, doodle, or design around them creatively. And then you could turn your page into artwork. You can add patterns, shapes, stickers, washi tape, illustrations. So I'll show you some examples of ones that I found of what other people have done with kind of the blackout poem. So you can see sometimes it's really blacked out, right? They really blacked out a lot of it and just saved a few of the words. The other one, they kind of drew a line through, and it's not actually a poem, it's an actual page in a book. And you could do that as well, right? It doesn't have to be this poem if you're not super excited about this poem. Fun one where they drew kind of like the little wave. Maybe short and powerful definitely work best. Maybe you want to focus on a theme, right? Focus on an integrity or honesty or strength or something like that. And then another example that someone posted in Sonder Club, she did a highlight poem. She did highlight poetry. So she actually went to Meha's letter for the month, which I think is a great idea. I love this. And she highlighted words, and then she wrote them out. So it's spring open alive, live loud as rhythm, thriving in the moments of letting go, nourish, rest, and honor yourself. You would feel lighter if you stay true to yourself. I'll whisper this: everything reels wildly yours. Super fun way. So instead of doing kind of like the blackout, they just kind of highlighted and then wrote the words out. So this is super fun. Oh, I love Victoria was saying someone does blackout poetry for a library display using withdrawn library book pages every April for National Poetry Month. It is really fun, right? And again, if you're like, oh, I don't want to mess up my journal, if you have something else like laying around, you can do this with a newspaper. Does anybody get a newspaper anymore? Magazine, um, anything, any kind of text. You could do it with a like junk mail. So I've seen some people do some fun things with junk mail where they, it's kind of like the crazy letter or like a charity asking for money, and then they kind of find the words and black out and they make a little picture. So lots of fun things to do with this. So I will let you work on this. Feel free to share kind of what you're doing or what you're thinking there in the chat, and then we will wrap things up here in just a few moments. All right. Well, I do not know how the hour goes by so quickly. And I love that some of you are willing to try out, right? It's, having that beginner's mind here, beginner, just kind of trying out the blackout poetry. Um, kind of doing whatever. Again, it's just for fun. And if you ever want to try, again, this is a great thing to do with just any kind of text on something. Print out a page of something, and you can do that. Find old books. Sometimes I go to like book sales and you find kind of the old books or books that are kind of damaged, and you can just kind of tear out a page and do some fun things. So I love that folks are having fun kind of doing that, and working on that. And again, the highlight poetry is also super fun. So you could always think about doing that with your June, Mayha's letter in June. You could always do something like that as well. So thank you all so much for joining us. Feel free to share any of the pages that you worked on tonight. Share your plant and your plant care that you need. If you do the blackout poem, you can kind of put that in there. If you want to share the other page where with your inner no, but your external yes, right? Kind of what that looked like. We love to see all of those if you're comfortable sharing. I did want to couple mentions. They are still doing the coach, Silk and Sonder coach for free to try out. You can use that website. Jennifer's going to pop the link in there. And then Mayha is asking folks to kind of send some feedback to her about what that felt like. So she's saying, how did the experience feel? 1 to 10, 1 being the worst and 10 being awesome. What felt helpful or surprised you in a good way, what felt confusing, what would make it even better. And then you can just send her an email. And like I said, Jennifer popped that in there. Also, we are doing a mid-year reset, June 16th, and I will be on that in the chat with Mayha, who is going to be doing that. And that is a complimentary session. There's not an extra charge for this one, so please sign up for this. We would love to see you there. Always fun to kind of do a mid-year reset, thinking about our goals, energy, and action, especially as we just finished up integrity, right? We've been really kind of talking about what integrity looks like and what that's going to be. So thank you all so much for joining us. Sign up for some June socials. I will probably, if you're here this weekend, I will probably see you in the chat somewhere. I hope you all have a fabulous rest of your evening, and we will talk to you soon. Take care, everyone.
Your time is up. You took a sip from the devil's cup. You broke my heart. There's no way back. Move right out of here, baby. Go pack your bags. Just who do you think you are? Stop acting like some kind of star.